Do you need police, fire, or medical?
Police, possibly. I'm reporting a missing child.
Okay. And the child that you're trying to report missing, are you calling on behalf of the parent?
Yes, on behalf of the mother.
Okay. And is she white, black, or Hispanic?
She's white.
Okay.
Blonde,
And
dirty blonde hair, blue eyes.
okay, hold on with me here. And then what color shirt and pants was she last seen wearing?
Hold on, let me ask. Hold on, we're finding out.
Okay. And then how long has it been though since you guys have last seen her?
Since this morning, she was dropped off at school this morning, and apparently she never showed up. We called everyone we knew. No one's seen her.
Okay. And then so, ma'am, I just want to confirm though, was she last seen from this address where you guys last saw her?
No. She was last seen at the church next to Hunter's Creek Middle School. I think it's called Peace Church. I'm not sure of the exact address. She was wearing a dark green hoodie, I believe.
What is the name of the church?
I think I'm pretty sure it's called Peace Church. It's the one right next to Hunter's Creek Middle School. No.
Got it. It's across the street from it?
I believe so, yeah. There's two. I just forgot about the other one. It's not Focal Point Church. It's
Well, is it Peace United Methodist Church?
Yes.
Okay.
It's that one.
Okay, perfect then. So then I'll get a call placed for service. We'll have deputies out there to come and make a report with you and to come and assist with trying to find your, okay?
At about 8 p.m. on February 26, 2024, 13-year-old Madeline Soto was reported missing by a friend of her mother's. Names, addresses, and personal details were redacted from the 911 recording, but in the call she gives the teen's name and age. After some identifying information like the clothes Madeline was last seen wearing and where she had last been seen, the operator informed the caller that they would send out a deputy, but nobody showed up, so the friend called back.
Okay, police or medical?
Hi, I called not that long ago reporting a missing child. I just wanted to know how long the cops are going to take to get here.
Okay, hold on. Let me open up the call and let's see. The call is still currently pending to have the deputies respond out there. We don't have any available deputies. We still have the call up, though, holding.
Okay, so no one's on their way yet?
Not yet, no.
Does it take long for us to respond to the call?
If there's a big emergency in the area, and there's no units available, they put the call on hold. But as soon as one becomes available, they respond to the next pressing call.
Okay, yeah, we just need one here urgently. So
I understand. We still have the call holding to them. I'll go ahead and update them with the information.
All right, thank you. So this happened very recently, so we just want to get everyone here. She's been working since 8 a.m., so we want to get everything done as soon as possible to try to find her.
I understand.
Okay.
The operator explained that they were busy and calls were answered in a triaged manner, with high-priority emergencies being answered first. The problem is, when a minor is reported missing, every minute counts in the effort to find them alive. Madeline had already been missing for 12 hours at that point, and the lackluster attitude of the authorities was not sitting well with the teen's family. Eventually, Madeline's mother, Jennifer Soto, called 911 again.
You need police, fire, medical.
No, it's not a medical issue. We have a missing child since this morning. We already called 3 times. And the police didn't show up yet.
I see it right here for you. Yes, ma'am. I see it. This is waiting for a deputy to respond.
They haven't come here yet.
I'm worried, ma'am. I see it. It's waiting for a deputy to respond.
They're waiting for a deputy to respond?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long more do we need to wait? It's a child missing.
I understand that, ma'am, but I'm just not able to give out ETA. I don't know when they'll be there.
So how long do we need to wait? This is an emergency.
Ma'am, we have the information, but they're trying to get there someone as soon as possible.
So this is not important for you guys? Really?
Ma'am, we're very busy in the area. Look, I understand they'll be there as soon as they can, okay?
You can hear the frustration in her voice after being told that her missing daughter was not a priority to the authorities. According to a statement made later by an Orange County Sheriff's Office spokesperson, details about the girl's disappearance that were shared with 911 dispatchers did not necessitate a higher priority response, and that was because of her age. A missing person is considered a child if they're 12 years old or younger. Once they become 13, they're considered a juvenile. Unfortunately, many law enforcement agencies throughout the United States do not take reports of missing teenagers seriously. They assume they just ran away and they prioritize other calls before them. And yes, in many cases that is true, but in some, delaying the search for them is essentially a death sentence. When a teen is abducted and not killed right away, every single minute counts in finding them alive. So, despite not wanting to waste time looking for a runaway, it needs to happen in order to save the lives of kids who didn't run away. In this instance, an 8- and a 9-year-old had also been reported missing in the same area, so deputies were busy searching for them. They were considered children and a higher priority. In that case, though, it turned out they were in a park and just hadn't told their mother they were going there. Still, looking for them right away was the right thing to do. 3 hours after the initial 911 call, a deputy arrived on the scene and a search for Madeline finally got underway. This is Monsters. This episode is sponsored by Fate of the Union. There's an unfortunate amount of hate in the world, and sometimes you want to make sure everybody knows you disagree, but you don't want to look bad doing it. Well, Fate of the Union has solved that problem. With a growing collection of shirts with progressive messages, there's no reason you can't obliterate the oligarchy and look good doing it. Use our promo code MONSTERS to get 15% off your order at fateoftheunion.biz. A link is in the description. Fate of the Union, where progress never goes out of style. Madeline Soto was born on February 22, 2011, and had just celebrated her 13th birthday a few days before she went missing. Her parents were Tyler Wallace and Jennifer Soto, who weren't married and didn't stay together. He was in the military and didn't stay in the area, but continued to be in contact through social media, having spoken to his daughter the last time on her birthday. By 2024, he had gotten married and was living in Houston, Texas. Jennifer lived in a townhouse in Kissimmee, Florida, with 2 roommates, and her boyfriend, Stephan Sterns, stayed with her off and on. He had lived with her full-time until he moved for a job. Madeline went to Hunters Creek Middle School in Orlando, which was not the closest middle school to where she lived. She actually lived within walking distance of Kissimmee Middle School, but she was driven 20 minutes away to the school she attended. I'm not sure what the reason was. On Sunday, February 25th, the family celebrated Madeline's birthday, and the following morning, Jennifer's boyfriend Stephan gave the girl a ride to school. He said he dropped her off a block away from the school at Peace United Methodist Church, and that was because she was supposedly embarrassed by his car. Stephan drove a 2010 Lincoln MKZ, which seemed pretty normal, but he would later tell investigators she thought it was a quote-unquote hoopty. Jennifer had gone to the school that afternoon to pick Madeline up, but she wasn't there. When a deputy finally arrived on the scene to take a missing persons report, Jennifer and Stephan were at a business not far from the school.
So she was supposed to be dropped off at school, didn't make it to school.
Didn't make it to school. I went to pick her up from school today,
Okay.
and she never came out. They announced it over the speaker, and I'm just like, maybe she walked here, because sometimes she'll walk here to this office. I came here, nothing. I went back to the school, they were closed. I got an email from the school saying she was absent, but I also messaged her teacher, and he looked at her entire attendance today and saw that she was completely not at school today either.
Okay.
So she never made it.
Okay, what's her name?
Madeline. Madeline.
Madeline.
I-N-E.
Last name?
Soto, S-O-T-O.
S-O-T-O?
Yeah.
Date of birth?
February 22nd, 2011.
February 27, 2000?
22nd,
Oh, sorry, 22nd,
2011.
2011.
Just had her 13th birthday.
13.
1418 Charlie 405. What's the name of the signal aid?
Madeline Soto, age 13. I'm trying to get a clothing description now. What was she last seen wearing?
26 County Charlie 405. People hit my call 931 at the same call.
Green hoodie,
Green hoodie,
white Crocs,
white Crocs,
either blue or black pants.
I think black shorts.
Black shorts.
Yeah.
black shorts? Okay. Black shorts. Alright. Do you know if she has like friends in the area?
She does, but she doesn't know where they live.
She doesn't know where they live. Okay.
I asked all of them.
Okay. Is this like, does she like have any places that you guys know that she'll usually be at? Any friend's house? Any places that like she likes to hang out?
Not typically, no.
No.
Not typically?
No.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I get some.
The first question the police will ask when a teenager goes missing is whether or not they may have run away. Jennifer didn't believe that was the case, as she had no history of that behavior and she had left her cell phone behind. Eventually, text messages were recovered from Madeline's phone where she said she wanted to go live in the woods when she turned 13. Despite that, none of the girl's belongings were missing, so it felt like that wasn't something she had actually done. Jennifer and Stephan gave a timeline of events to the deputies. Stephan had gotten up with Madeline and gave her a ride to school. Jennifer said she saw Stephan in the bedroom at about 8 a.m. and that she heard noises in the kitchen, which she assumed was Madeline getting ready for school. She would later admit that she never actually saw Madeline that morning and the noise could have been one of her roommates. Outside of Jennifer's room and the guest room, there were 2 other bedrooms that were rented out. One was to a woman named Angela Negro, Nigro, and the other to a woman named Natalie Rosero. Jennifer had a doctor's appointment at 10:15 and said she got home between 11 and 11:15. She said that she was pretty sure Stephan was there when she returned. With that information, the deputy sent out a picture of Madeline to be on the lookout. Then authorities started canvassing the local area, trying to find anyone who might have information about the girl. Investigators went door to door looking for doorbell cameras, they retrieved surveillance footage from the Peace United Methodist Church, and they brought out a tracking dog to try to pick up a scent. All of those efforts resulted in no leads. It was when they interviewed Jennifer again that they ended up getting some unusual details.
You needed some good sleep, so was it about 11 o'clock?
Yeah. I sent them upstairs, and I went to bed.
Okay. And that was about 11?
Yeah.
And do you guys normally all sleep together? Because I know you said that she sleeps in your room with you typically, right?
She sleeps with me typically. Typically when he comes into town, because he lives with his parents in Northport, Florida. Mm-hmm. When he comes to town, he'll sleep in the guest bedroom.
Okay. And Stephan is the one you're referring to, right?
Yeah, Stephan Sterns.
Stephan, how often does he stay here?
Oh, he moved away back in December, so I'm going to say he's visited at least 2 to 3 times since then.
Okay. Why did he move away?
He was offered his dad had offered him a job, but it fell through.
Oh,
so
okay.
Now we're trying to get him back here.
And he just visits?
Yeah.
When he visits, does he stay for like hours, days, weeks?
I would say days. This time we had planned on him staying a whole week because I was going through training at work. Mm-hmm. So I wanted him to be here to help me with the dog, help me with the training.
Okay, so this time he was planning to stay for a week. How long has he been here? Or when did he arrive, rather, this time?
I can't remember if he arrived Saturday or Sunday morning.
Okay, that's fine. Sometime this weekend?
Yeah.
So it turned out that Madeline couldn't sleep alone, so she regularly slept with her mother. Okay, not crazy, but when Stephan was there, all 3 of them slept in the same bed together. It's not unusual for a child to sleep with the adults from time to time. Having to do that all the time as a 13-year-old is a little weird, but maybe she had anxiety. You can at least make up a reason to justify it. Then we find out that, on some occasions, if Jennifer wanted to sleep alone, Stephan and Madeline would go sleep together in a guest bedroom. That's fucking weird. Jennifer talked about that happening from time to time when Stephan visited, but he used to live there. He had moved to Northport, about 150 miles or 240 kilometers southwest of Orlando, only a few months prior. Before that, he had lived with Jennifer and Madeline full-time for years. But the details get even weirder. Madeline had her own bedroom, sort of. She had a section of the living room with dividers set up to block the view, so she had some privacy in her own dedicated space. When she and Stephan weren't sleeping in the bed with Jennifer, they slept in an actual bedroom that was designated as the guest room, and that bedroom had hotel-style locks on the inside. Stephan Sterns was born on April 25, 1986, and grew up in Central Florida. Not much is known about his past, but his father, Christopher Sterns, gave investigators a little background.
When he was 8, he and a friend were playing in a parking area, and a guy came out and got in his Toyota pickup truck, said hello to the kids, and then backed up over them. And they both were run over, but he got hit in the head with the bumper, and he had a slight tick. He had separation anxiety, so, he slept with us for a while, and finally I said, no, you got to go to your own bed and, get over that. He would go over to a neighbor's home and spend the night and show up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning wanting to come home. But as far as...
Nothing diagnosed or medication?
Well, he's been seeing a psychiatrist or psychologist or something. Okay. He's been on anxiety meds, depression or what have you. I have no idea what they're talking about because obviously he doesn't share that with me. But, he's battled a number of things, depression, anxiety, and what have you.
As a child or as an adult?
Maybe ADD as a child, but as an adult, more severe.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like the family had a great relationship, as Christopher would also tell authorities, quote, "He spent a lifetime lying to us." When he got on the phone with his wife, she immediately called Christopher a motherfucker. A poor choice of words, seeing as she was his mother. Stephan had been dating Jennifer for about 6 years.
When did you meet Stephen or Stephan?
I met Stephan in 2017. We both worked for Eco Homes, a real estate company. I did appointments, and he worked in the office doing warranty work. We met as coworkers. We became really good friends. We were best friends for a year. And then eventually I asked him if he wanted to hook up, and he said, sure.
You said 17, 18. Did you live in Orlando, Kissimmee? Where were you guys staying at?
Kissimmee.
And did you guys live together in 17?
He technically lived at his parents' house, but he was staying at my house all the time.
Okay. Same house you're in now or a different house?
Wait, I take it back. In 2017, he wasn't staying over my house. It started in 2018 when we started hooking up, and he started sleeping over my house.
Okay.
And what were your next question?
Was that in the current
Yes.
house you live in now?
Yes.
Okay.
At some point, Stephan began working for Disney, but his father offered to help him get into a construction management apprenticeship, so he moved down to Northport in December of 2023. He had gone back to Kissimmee about 3 times since moving out. Obviously, finding out the unusual sleeping arrangements threw a lot of suspicion on Stephan, and on February 28th, investigators asked for permission to search his phone. Now, Stephan agreed and handed his phone over, explaining that on the day Madeline went missing, he had accidentally factory reset his phone while attempting to do a software update. Yeah, accidentally. Now, whether or not he had an iPhone or an Android device is unclear, but either way, the process of factory resetting the phone is completely separate from doing a software update, and you get warned that it will erase all your data before you do it. So it's hard to believe that it was an accident. But the good news is that the investigators were able to retrieve the data that Stephan had thought he had lost. See, when you delete something on a hard drive, nothing is actually being removed. The information is still there. That part of the storage device is just marked as available again. Whatever was stored there doesn't show up in your files anymore, but the data is still there until the space needs to be used again and what was there before gets overwritten. So when someone has incriminating files they delete from their computer, they aren't actually deleting them unless they get special software that identifies where that data is on the hard drive and physically writes over it with random binary data. It's usually called a file shredder. Computer forensics units have software that looks for files that have been deemed deleted but still on the hard drive, and they used that on Stephan's phone. On the phone, they found hundreds of images and videos of child sexual assault material, and some of it was determined to have been made inside their home in Kissimmee. Investigators also got a warrant to search the home, and while that was happening, the residents had to stay somewhere else. Stephan, Jennifer, and Stephan's father, Stephan Sterns, stayed in 2 different rooms at the Townplace Suites Flamingo Crossing near Disney World. It's unknown where the 2 roommates went. Christopher drove up from Northport to help with the search for Madeline, and he met Stephan and Jennifer at the hotel at about 3 a.m. on the 28th, and Christopher told investigators that he went right to sleep, assuming Stephan and Jennifer did the same. Stephan actually waited for Jennifer to fall asleep, and then he took her car and drove to Northport. It's unknown what he did there, and his mother said she didn't see him. Then he drove back to the hotel, arriving at about 11 a.m. The following day, police were alerted to the activity, and they spoke to Christopher about what Stephan might have done in the area. Christopher was completely surprised at the news that his son had made the 6-hour round-trip drive after he had gone to sleep. He said they were beat, and when they got to the hotel, they were all ready to crash. Then he woke up at 6:30 a.m. and went to the Orlando office for the company he worked for. At about 10:45, Jennifer called him and asked if Stephan was with him because he wasn't at the hotel. Christopher was surprised that Stephan wasn't still asleep and drove back to the hotel, where Stephan showed up shortly after. Stephan told his father that he had gone out for a drive and gotten lost. Investigators knew that Christopher had a storage unit in Northport and asked him if Stephan had access to it. They thought that maybe he was hiding Madeline there. Christopher informed them that his son did not have access to the unit, and he even checked his vehicle where the key to the unit was still there. They sent local officers to the unit anyway, just in case, but there was no sign of the girl. They did check out Stephan's parents' house and also came up empty-handed. It would never be entirely clear why Stephan went to Northport that morning, but authorities would eventually come up with a theory. Further investigation into Stephan's online activity showed that he had a Google Drive that contained more child sexual assault material. They believe he went down to his parents' house to use their Wi-Fi from outside the house to log in and delete files, something it sounds like he was unsuccessful at. It was while investigating that Google account that they found that he had done an internet search about 2 weeks prior for sevoflurane. It's a widely used inhalational halogenated ether anesthetic for inducing and maintaining general anesthesia, most commonly used before surgery. Some of its side effects are hypnosis and amnesia, so you'll do whatever someone wants and then not remember afterward. And now I have a search history for sevoflurane. Awesome. The searches Stephan made were specifically about whether or not sevoflurane would show up in a drug test. Was Madeline going to possibly need a drug test for some reason, and Stephan was concerned about the results? I couldn't find any information that suggested that. Investigators quickly found quite a bit of other suspicious activity from Stephan. They had tracked the movement of his car and saw that he had stopped at a Holiday Inn on South John Parkway in Orlando. When a detective went to the hotel, he was given surveillance footage of Stephan's car driving up to the top level of the parking garage on February 26th at 9:41 a.m. and backing into a parking space. A white male wearing what appeared to be a dark hat, reddish shirt, and tan pants exited the vehicle from the driver's seat, then walked to the back of the vehicle and opened the trunk. The male then walked to the front passenger side of the vehicle, opened the door, then proceeded to carry what appeared to be a limp female body to the trunk of the vehicle. At 9:44 a.m., the same male subject entered the driver's seat of the same vehicle, then drove away. Authorities had also found surveillance footage of Stephan tossing items into the garbage bin in their gated community before he had taken Madeline to school. The garbage had been picked up, so the investigators tracked to the truck and ended up finding the garbage from that very bin. Inside, they found Madeline's backpack, which had her schoolwork and school-assigned laptop inside. With the backpack was a single white Croc, which matched another white Croc found in Madeline's bedroom. Unfortunately, it had been covered with paint in the garbage bin. It seemed that the photos that investigators found were pretty clearly of Stephan sexually assaulting Madeline, but investigators wanted to back that up. They took some specific frames and showed them to Jennifer.
So you're pretty familiar with him?
Yeah.
Okay. Whose hand does that look like to you?
I would say it's Stephan's.
Is that Stephan's hand?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay. So, you and Stephan, have you guys been sexually intimate before in the past?
Yes.
So you're aware of what like his penis looks like and things like that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does this look like Stephan's penis to you?
No.
No? Okay. What about that?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that's his penis?
Might be.
Okay.
If anything, it's not even the penis I'm recognizing, it's the things around it.
So it's the things around it that make you believe it's his penis?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have these images, and unfortunately, over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, he's been doing oral sex, vaginal sex, and things like that.
What makes you guys...
We have photos. We have his phone. We were able to get into his phone. And there are some very, very unfortunate graphic pictures of him conducting very sexual acts with... I wish I could tell you this was all a made-up story, but it's not. Did you ever suspect anything like this? No? You okay?
Jennifer said that she had no idea that the sexual assault was going on, but many people find that hard to believe. I will make it very clear that no evidence that Jennifer was involved in or was even aware of the abuse was ever found, and she was not charged with any crimes. Still, allowing a grown man to sleep in a locked room with your preteen daughter and being absolutely shocked that something like this happened is pretty naive. Also, since she knew that Stephan was a liar and a thief.
I know he's like a master liar and manipulator because he's done it to his parents, and he's told me and shown me the lies he's done to his parents. But I don't know why I never thought, not me.
The lies are about money, they're about where he's at, what he's doing. Like, what's he...
Yeah, all that.
To his parents?
He's stolen money from his parents. They used to have a few $1,000s hidden in like a closet for emergency fund kind of thing. And during COVID, he stole, like, he wanted RC cars. See, if he wants something, he's gonna get it. No matter what. So, he wanted RC vehicles. They were remote control cars. Fancy ones. They were a few $100s. And I'm poor. I know I can't afford it. And he's showing up at home with these things. And I asked him, where are you getting the money from? Because we don't have this money. He goes, oh, my dad. And I said, your dad gave you money? He goes, no, I took some from his closet. And I was like they have an emergency stash? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, he's gonna notice money's missing. And he's like, no, he won't. It's so much money in there, he won't notice at all. I've confirmed with Chris later on that he did notice money, but he never asked his son. But I let him know, yeah, he was robbing you and just buying himself toys.
Hunters Creek Middle School is on the south end of Orlando in Orange County, so the Orange County Sheriff's Department started the investigation because it was believed that Madeline had been dropped off at school. The crimes documented in the photos and videos happened at the house in Kissimmee, which is in the next county south, Osceola County, so Kissimmee police took over the investigation from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. By that point, authorities believed that Madeline was no longer alive and that Stephan had killed her at home. Stephan Sterns was arrested and charged with sexual battery on February 28, 2024. At that time, the charges were for the sexual assault material on his phone and Google Drive that showed him engaging in sexual activity with Madeline. They knew he had sexually assaulted her, but they still didn't know where her body was. Something else that was found on his phone were pictures of one of Jennifer's roommates nude in the bathroom. You could tell that the photo had been taken by holding the phone up to the gap under the bathroom door. The roommate confirmed that she had not given Stephan permission to take the photo. Not surprising. When Stephan was interrogated, he stuck with his story that he had dropped her off near the school that morning.
But we leave the house, we start making our way to the school. Most of the time, we make our way over towards our school area. I ask her if she's still in the mood for McDonald's. She's not. She doesn't want to get more. Continued on. It was still pretty early though, I think. We still had some time to kill. It wasn't really time to drop her off yet. I had apparently forgotten my clicker key fob for the gate. So I ended up actually turning around at some point and going back to the community to get the clicker. I had to use my parking sticker to get in for the guy to scan. I had some errands to run afterwards, and I wanted to have my fob. But we still had plenty of time as far as I knew. So we did that, grabbed the clicker, left again. That's when we drove over to her school area and I dropped her off where I dropped her off.
Do you remember where you dropped her off?
Yeah, it was the stretch of road, I forget the street name. It was the stretch of road that the school is on. We can right onto it. It goes down a little ways. There's some communities over here, and then up further there's a church. And then there's the overpass and the school on the other side of the overpass right there. I dropped her off on that stretch where the communities are.
Was she by herself when you dropped her, or was her friends there?
Yeah, she was by herself. She said she was going to go find her friends and hang out, wait for them to show up.
Okay.
It was still early.
Where did you go after that? Like, did you see her walk towards the...
I saw her making her way towards the direction of the school, but she was like kind of shuffle step. She was meandering her way there. She was rummaging through her backpack for something. I assumed she was looking for headphones, maybe. As it turns out, she did leave her phone at home that day, so she might have actually been looking for her phone.
What was she wearing when she left, or when you dropped her off?
Green hoodie, black shorts, black or blue, black shorts, white Crocs.
White Crocs. Okay.
He had explained that their plan was to stop by McDonald's for breakfast on the way to school, but Madeline had changed her mind, so they had extra time in the morning. He claimed that she walked off toward the school, rummaging through her backpack. He mentioned that she had left her phone at home, which was one of the reasons they originally didn't believe she ran away. What 13-year-old would take off without her cell phone? But investigators knew that he couldn't have seen that. Her backpack had already been put in the garbage bin. Stephan went on to say that he went to a vape shop and then went home where he was with Jennifer until he left at about noon to run some errands. He said he was planning to be back in time to go with Jennifer to pick Madeline up from school, but he got a flat tire while he was out and it made him unable to make it back in time. The errands he was running were to go to various game shops looking for a specific game. He let Jennifer know he was going to be late, so she went on her own to pick up her daughter, who never showed up. The detectives went on to talk about where he had been. They asked him about the last time he had taken out garbage. He claimed he didn't remember, but when they told him it was the morning Madeline went missing, he didn't argue. When they told him they eventually found her backpack in the garbage, he acted confused. They verified that he was the only person in the Kissimmee area that drove the Lincoln, and he told them that he was still wearing the same clothes that he had been on the 26th, a dark hat and tan pants. Oh, except that he had been wearing a red shirt which he changed sometime later that day. So he perfectly matched the person seen moving the body in the parking garage. Then they got to the pictures that were found on his phone.
What do you think was on the phone?
Text messages.
Mm-hmm.
Emails. Old stuff.
Pictures?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of pictures were on there?
Trading card pictures. Lightsaber pictures. Disney pictures.
Do you have a Google account?
Yeah.
Do you save pictures to your Google account?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Or is it automatically? I know sometimes phones sync to a cloud and...
Yeah, I think it backs up to Google.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes when you reset your phone and your phone updates and puts these apps back on your phone, sometimes they will put the images back on your phone.
I'm not sure.
Do you have
Oh, I assume so.
any pictures of you?
Probably. I mean, we went to Disney, took selfies on the train. She got back from Puerto Rico and had her hair braided. We got pictures of that. All sorts of pictures. Family events. I'm not as much of a shutterbug. I take them every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Any other pictures you think of? Here's where I'm going to be brutally honest with you. There's your phone. And I'm pretty sure you know what some of those pictures are about.
He nearly breaks his back bending over backwards in an effort to not say there were pictures of him raping Madeline on that phone. What will we find on your phone? Text messages? Emails? No, Stephan, what kind of photos? Family events? Dude, they know. Instead of manning up and admitting what he had done, he told the detectives that he wanted a lawyer. At that point, the interrogation was over and eventually his clothes were taken and he was photographed, including a thorough inspection of his penis. They wanted to make sure they could match the penis in the child sexual assault material that didn't show his face to him. From the time he was told he was charged with capital sexual battery and possession of child pornography, he showed absolutely no emotion. He didn't have any care in the world that he had raped and killed a child. He's a psychopath that will never be rehabilitated. Stephan maintained his innocence, but the evidence told a different story. Traffic cameras confirmed that Stephan had never gone to the Peace United Methodist Church on the morning of February 26th. The investigators believed that Madeline had been killed the night of the 25th or morning of the 26th, and Stephan put her in the passenger seat of the car, hoping it looked like she was just sleeping. He told the detectives that she was asleep multiple times during his interrogation.
So you say she was conked out on the way there.
Mm-hmm.
You said you took her to school, or you're on her way to school, you needed to turn around to get your clicker.
Correct.
Was she sleeping then too?
She was.
Okay.
It had been an early morning, so I figured to find a letter to sleep in the car with it.
He initially told the investigators that he dropped Madeline off at the church and went straight to the vape shop, but they found surveillance of him returning home with Madeline in the passenger seat, not moving. He changed his story to say that he had forgotten his key fob for the gate to their community, so he returned home to get it, having the attendant at the front gate let him in. When that attendant was interviewed, he said that he had let Stephan in because his key fob wasn't working, but he did have it with him. That man also said he saw Madeline in the passenger seat and he never saw her move. It's not clear why Stephan went back. It's possible that that was when he tossed her backpack. I'm not sure. Once he left the house again, he went to the parking garage where he's on camera moving her body from the passenger seat to the trunk. He was also tracked having driven to Old Hickory Road in St. Cloud, southeast of Kissimmee. The fact that Stephan had gotten a flat tire while out running errands on the 26th came up multiple times, and the story was suspicious because Stephan claimed he couldn't remember where it had happened. Well, a man eventually came forward to say he saw a man matching Stephan's description changing the tire on a car that matched Stephan's on Old Hickory Road in St. Cloud on the 26th. It was a place that Stephan denied ever having been. At some point during the day, he factory reset his phone. After having reported Madeline missing, Stephan went out in the middle of the night claiming he was going to search for the girl. He was tracked going back out to the exact same location on Old Hickory Road in St. Cloud. He told the detectives that he had no memory of going out that night. On March 1st, 2024, Madeline's body was found in a wooded area off Old Hickory Road in St. Cloud. Her autopsy was not released because she was a minor, but authorities stated that they believed she had been strangled. Since the autopsy wasn't released, we don't know if any drugs were found in her system. Stephan Sterns was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, and he was eventually charged with 60 other counts, including 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation, and 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child, 10 or more images. Stephan pleaded not guilty, and the prosecution announced that they would be seeking the death penalty. While he was awaiting trial, investigators were not finished with Jennifer. The way this case played out, the behavior that she allowed to happen in the house was not okay. But that wasn't the worst part. Even after being shown a photo of Stephan sexually assaulting her daughter, she continued to try to defend him.
I think at one point you guys interviewed me, and when you guys showed me the picture of her, I believed the sexual stuff, but I didn't want to believe that he had done anything evil to her. I'm like, no, what if he did this stuff fine, but what if she's still missing out there? What if somebody took her? I still wanted to believe I believed him. I believed his whole story. So I was just like, I kept repeating that part. I'm just like, what if she did get dropped off? What if she got abducted? What if she's missing? But that was me assuming that you guys had the wrong guy. I wanted to think he was the good guy still, but clearly he's not. After everything you guys have told me and have shown me, I know he's the worst person on this face of the earth.
You know that
now.
now. We know he's a piece of shit now.
You know?
But you didn't know that then.
I didn't.
Then you offered a guy who the police suspected of kidnapping, abducting, assisting the disappearance. Offered him a lawyer. And then we don't have to roundtable that. You went back to what you just said is the sex stuff is fine.
It's not fine.
Hold on.
She brushed off the sexual assault of her own daughter to maintain the idea that Stephan might not have been the one who made her disappear. She even admitted that she was afraid something like that might happen.
I had a rule. She wasn't allowed to sleep in his bedroom at all. Like, no sleepovers, no nothing. For a very long time. For years.
Since we're pausing,
Yeah.
what brought that on? Was that like a request of his, like, can we sleep in the same bed, request of hers, or you just saying...
Me being super paranoid, not to trust anyone. For the longest life, even though he treated her well, I still looked at him on, like side eye, like making sure, like, is that normal? Is this okay? That looks normal. Okay. I wanted to make sure that nothing was happening and that I was missing something, but I was. But he never requested. I'm sorry. Repeat the question then.
So I guess you said, like, you had a rule. Like, obviously, we know now they've, slept in the same bedroom together and everything else. I'm sure you're questioning a lot of things that, like, you haven't been told or that are going on. The thought process of them sleeping in the same bedroom caused you to say that you had a rule for the longest time where they couldn't.
Yeah.
I have a son. He's a lot younger than her. He's 4. But I guess if I was dating somebody or had somebody over, I would never establish, and this is just me, a rule. He can't sleep in the bed with her, or she's not going to be. It wouldn't even be a thought process for me, so that's why I asked, because I wouldn't think of it even as an option.
Yeah.
So when you say you had a rule, I guess I'm asking what prompted the rule.
Sleepovers before. Yeah. Like, you want to watch movies and eat snacks? Can we do that? I'm like, no. We can all watch movies down here together. We can all sleep down here together. Up until June, together all the time. So we were always, she would sleep in the middle, I would sleep on this side, he would sleep on the other side. It wasn't until June that he got his own bedroom and I sent him upstairs. That's where the requests for sleepovers started.
Okay.
And I kept telling her no. I'm not comfortable with that. But eventually at some point, it's like, we really want to watch, I forgot what movie it was. They really wanted to watch something and I was really tired. And I said, okay, fine. Go ahead, but this can't happen often.
There are a couple of redacted parts of the audio, and I believe that Jen is explaining that it was Madeline who had asked if she and Stephan could have sleepovers. Most of the redactions are to remove Madeline's name and details, but we know that she was the victim now, so I'm not giving out any sensitive information. Obviously, Stephan had groomed Madeline from a young age to have her be the one who made the request to sleep in the same room together. Jen said she resisted repeated requests from Madeline for her and Stephan to have quote-unquote sleepovers. Before we reach the exciting conclusion of this episode, I just want to remind you that we're trying to hit 1 million subscribers this year, so before you go, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Even better, tell someone else about the channel so they could subscribe too. Then make sure you both turn on notifications so you always know when a new episode airs. You can also support the channel by checking out our merch at thisismonsters.com. A link is in the description. Your support is appreciated, and be kind to each other. The investigators ended up going through thousands of images on Stephan's previously owned computers and hard drives and said they believed the sexual assault started in 2020. Madeline would have been 9. Stephan spent years grooming Madeline. Investigators said they didn't find any evidence of Stephan having had physical contact with any other children. But after Stephan Sterns turned over some hard drives that he found stored with Stephan's belongings, they ended up finding 35,000 child sexual assault images and videos on one hard drive. In a phone call from Stephan to his father from jail, Christopher said he wished he could understand how the whole situation came about. Stephan responded, quote, "Well, I didn't start it." So a 9-year-old initiated a sexual relationship with you and you couldn't say no? Get the fuck out of here, pedophile. Leading up to the trial, Stephan's defense presented a motion to drop the death penalty from the case, citing it was unconstitutional. It was denied. They also filed a motion to suppress the evidence found on Stephan's phone, claiming it was obtained illegally. That was also denied because he clearly agreed to allow the authorities to search his phone. Stephan Sterns ended up pleading guilty to the sexual battery and possession of child sexual material charges, but he pleaded no contest to the murder charge. No contest is a plea that means the defendant is not admitting guilt, but they see that there's enough evidence to convict them. Really, the only reason to use it is so that the plea can't be used as an admission of guilt in a civil case if one is brought against them. Stephan was given 21 concurrent life sentences without the possibility of parole. Stephan Sterns could not control his desire to be with a child. He had a history of viewing child sexual assault material, but when he moved into the house with Jennifer and her daughter, he found the perfect opportunity to groom Madeline. Unfortunately, Jennifer's codependence on Stephan made her ignore all the things she originally feared about him. Stephan is the monster in this story, but it's hard to say that Jennifer's blind eye didn't help the situation along. Hopefully the authorities are correct that he didn't have any other physical victims, and now that he's locked away permanently, he won't be able to repeat his actions. Thanks for watching This Is Monsters. New episodes are uploaded twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. There are occasional bonus episodes covering unsolved cases and criminal history. If you have a suggestion for a case you think I should cover, leave it in the comments. You can always follow the channel on Instagram at thisis_monsters and purchase merch at thisismonsters.com. Thanks so much, and be safe.